Picture a time of growing tension and discontent, a time when the colonies of America started to question their place under British rule. This was an era marked by the stirring of revolutionary sentiments, a period where the seeds of rebellion were being sown. The mid-18th century was a time of significant change. The American colonies were blossoming, but they were also chafing under the heavy hand of British control. From Boston to Charleston, the colonists were beginning to question the nature of their relationship with the mother country. The crux of the issue lay in the concept of representation. The British Parliament, seated thousands of miles away in London, was levying taxes on the colonists without giving them a say in the matter. This was a stark violation of the political rights the colonists believed they were entitled to as British subjects. The slogan, "No taxation without representation," began to echo through the colonies. This phrase captured the essence of the colonists' grievances. They were not opposed to taxation per se. Rather, they were incensed at the lack of representation in the decision-making process. The Stamp Act of 1765 was a particularly egregious example of this. The act imposed a tax on all paper documents in the colonies, from legal documents and licenses to newspapers and playing cards. This tax was met with widespread outrage, leading to the formation of the Stamp Act Congress. This was the first significant act of defiance by the colonies and marked a crucial turning point in their relationship with Britain. The colonists' discontent was not just about taxes, though. It was about the fundamental principles of self-governance and representation. They believed that they had the right to govern themselves and make their own laws, a belief that was increasingly at odds with the British government's insistence on maintaining control. As tensions continued to rise, the stage was set for a revolution. This was the road to the American Revolution, a journey marked by discontent, defiance, and a deep-seated desire for self-governance. Now imagine the spark that ignited the fire, the infamous Boston Massacre. It was a chilly evening on March 5, 1770. Tensions were high between the British soldiers stationed in Boston and the local colonists. A small argument escalated into a crowd of colonists confronting a lone British soldier. Reinforcements arrived, but the situation spiraled out of control. In the ensuing chaos, 5 colonists lost their lives. This event, later known as the Boston Massacre, fueled anti-British sentiments. The trial that followed only added fuel to the fire. Although the soldiers were defended by John Adams, a future president, and most were acquitted, the damage was done. The seeds of revolution had been sown in the hearts of the colonists. But the Boston Massacre was just the beginning. The real escalation came with the Boston Tea Party. In December of 1773, a group of colonists protested the Tea Act by boarding British ships and dumping 342 chests of tea into Boston Harbor. The audacity of the act stunned the British and rallied the colonists. In response, the British Parliament enacted punitive measures known as the Coercive Acts, or as the colonists called them, the Intolerable Acts. These laws closed Boston Harbor, abolished Massachusetts' local government, and allowed British soldiers to quarter in colonists' homes. The heavy-handed response from the British only galvanized the colonists further. Faced with these oppressive acts, the colonies banded together. In September of 1774, delegates from 12 of the 13 colonies convened in Philadelphia for the First Continental Congress. They petitioned the British Crown for redress of their grievances and coordinated colonial resistance against the British rule. All these events pushed the colonies further towards revolution, inching them closer to their fight for freedom. The spark of the Boston Massacre and the escalating conflict that followed fanned the flames of revolution. The colonies were on a path from which there would be no turning back. The fight for freedom was on the horizon. The year is 1775, and the first shots of the American Revolution ring out in Lexington and Concord. In the early dawn of April 19th, British redcoats clashed with American militiamen in the towns of Lexington and Concord, Massachusetts. These skirmishes, often referred to as the shot heard round the world, marked the beginning of the Revolutionary War. The outnumbered American forces, though caught by surprise, managed to inflict significant casualties on the British, signaling a long and arduous war ahead. Meanwhile, in Boston, a stalemate ensued. The British Army found themselves besieged in the city, surrounded by a growing force of American militiamen. This siege of Boston would last nearly a year, a tense standoff that only ended when the Patriots managed to fortify Dorchester Heights with cannons, forcing the British to evacuate. As the war escalated, it became clear that the scattered colonial militias needed unifying leadership. This led to the appointment of George Washington as Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army in June 1775. Washington, with his military experience and charismatic leadership, quickly became the linchpin of the American war effort, guiding the fledgling army through its darkest hours. The following year, in 1776, a pivotal moment in the war and indeed, world history, came to pass. The Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence, a bold assertion of American sovereignty and a direct challenge to British rule. This document, penned by Thomas Jefferson, marked a point of no return, galvanizing the American forces and solidifying their resolve. The war raged on, with neither side gaining a clear advantage until 1777. The Battle of Saratoga, often hailed as the turning point of the war, saw the Americans scoring a decisive victory over the British forces. This triumph not only boosted American morale, but also convinced France to enter the war as an American ally, shifting the balance of power. With the tide of the war turning, the end was in sight, but not without more bloodshed and sacrifice. On October 19, 1781, the British surrender at Yorktown, signaling the end of the American Revolution. After years of conflict, the American colonies had finally won their freedom from British rule. The victory at Yorktown was a turning point, marking the beginning of a new era in history. It was the dawn of a new nation, the United States of America. But the journey was far from over. The next step was to establish a peace treaty and secure international recognition for the new nation. This led to the signing of the Treaty of Paris on September 3, 1783. In this landmark agreement, Britain officially recognized the United States as a sovereign, independent nation. It was a significant achievement that affirmed the legitimacy of the American Revolution and the new nation it had birthed. The aftermath of the Revolution brought profound changes. Culturally, it sparked a sense of national identity among the American people. It gave rise to the idea of American exceptionalism, the belief that America was distinct from other nations due to its unique origins, historical evolution, and commitment to liberty. Politically, the Revolution transformed the landscape. It ignited debates about the nature of government, power and rights, leading to the formation of a new government. This new government was unlike any other in the world, founded on the principles of democracy and republicanism. Economically, the revolution opened up new opportunities for trade and industry. It marked the beginning of American capitalism and the pursuit of economic independence. It set the stage for the country's rise as a global economic power. One of the most consequential outcomes of the revolution was the writing of the Constitution. This document, drafted in 1787, laid the foundation for the United States system of government. It embodied the ideals of the revolution, establishing a framework of laws and rights that continues to guide the nation. And so, the American Revolution ended, leaving behind a newly independent nation and a world forever changed. The American Revolution was more than just a war. It was the birth of a nation founded on ideals that were, in many ways, revolutionary themselves. These ideals of liberty, equality, and self-government were the pillars that held up a new vision for society, one that would resonate across the globe, influencing future revolutions and shaping the world as we know it today. Let's unpack this a bit. The American Revolution was not just about gaining independence from British rule. It was about challenging the established norms of governance and society. The revolutionaries were not just fighting against a foreign power, but against an ideology that they believed was unjust. They were fighting for the right to govern themselves, for the right to be equal, and for the right to be free. These ideals were encapsulated in the Declaration of Independence and later in the Constitution. They were the rallying cries that spurred the revolutionaries on, and they became the guiding principles for the new nation. The impact of these ideals was profound. They set the stage for a democratic system of governance that was unprecedented in its scope and ambition. But the influence of the American Revolution didn't stop at the borders of the newly formed United States. It reverberated around the world, inspiring other nations to challenge their own systems of governance and to fight for their own rights. The French Revolution, the revolutions of 1848 in Europe, and many others drew inspiration from the American Revolution. It set a precedent, showing that it was possible to challenge the status quo and to establish a government based on the principles of liberty, equality, and self-government. The legacy of the American Revolution is still felt today. The ideals that it championed continue to be the bedrock of American society and have influenced countless other societies around the world. The revolution was a catalyst for change, a spark that ignited a global movement for democratic governance. The American Revolution, a testament to the power of an idea, forever changed the course of history, shaping a nation that continues to influence the world. Before we wrap up our journey, let's take a moment to reflect on the immense impact of the American Revolution. It was a monumental event that birthed a nation, pioneered democratic governance, and sparked a global wave of revolutions. But remember, history is not just about big events and grand narratives. It's also about the countless individuals who played their part, often at great personal cost, to make these events happen. The soldiers who fought, the thinkers who crafted the ideals, the ordinary people who supported the cause, they all played a crucial role in shaping the course of history. The American Revolution was a collective endeavor, a testament to the power of unity and the strength of shared ideals. As we bid farewell to this chapter of history, let's remember not just the events, but also the people who made them happen. The legacy of the American Revolution is not just in the principles it championed, but also in the spirit of collective action and resilience it embodied. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the American Revolution. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more historical journeys. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and never stop questioning.